Hello and welcome to Beyond Potential, Noreen Sumter's radio show at talkradio.nyc. And no, this is not Noreen, this is Ruth. Noreen has recently landed from at the airport and she's on her way here. She spent the last 4 or 5 days in Barbados.
Oh, poor thing.
And one of her, Noreen Sumter is as you may know or may not know, is a personal life coach, and she has been running courses that are what does she call it? Calling in the One, which is about relationships. And one of her clients successfully called in the One, and they got married in Barbados this weekend.
Oh, cool.
And Noreen was invited to be at the wedding. So she will be here shortly. And her very interesting guest this evening, who we've been chatting quite a bit, is Sander Hicks, who is running for New York City Congress and has a very interesting background. So many pieces that I can't put them all together, but
you can't put them all together. The story just doesn't add up.
But I have a feeling that Sander is going to make it all very clear to us what he's about. And Noreen usually starts with having our guest introduce himself and tell us a little bit about where you're from, and then we'll fill it in from there.
Great. I just want to say I'm really happy to be here. It's a really special space. As soon as I walked in here, just the way it's laid out and the design and the big crystals, it really helped me kind of feel like it was going to be okay. So thank you very much for filling in for Noreen, Ruth, and Sam. Sam on the decks, the producer. So yeah, so who I am the possibility of world peace. I am possibility of transformation. I am an activist and a writer and a visionary, and I have sullied myself by this year putting my hat in the ring to run for U.S. Congress. But it's actually been really great. It's been, I don't feel like I've really sullied myself, although some people think I have, because I've been trying to run as a Democrat and trying to do the grown-up adult thing and not run as an independent or a Green Party person. But now I've had this revelation just today that maybe it's not in the cards to be nominated in the Democratic Party, which is, everyone keeps on saying it's so damaged, it's so corrupt, it's so corporate. So
and splintered, very splintered.
Splintered, yeah. So I had a really great call with my old friend Zoe Masters, who's a coach as well, kind of like Noreen. They come kind of from the same lineage, same traditions. And she said, who are you? Why are you really doing this? And I said, I'm doing this to become the possibility of a peace activist getting sent to the United States Congress. And she said, but really, what is it all about? I said, it's about peace. It's about world peace. It's about transformation. I'm on the verge of taking a big trip to the Islamic Republic of Iran. And just by the grace of God, today, this trip seems more necessary than ever, because Donald Trump is pulling the United States of America out of the Iran nuclear deal. So who I am is the possibility of sanity, deep listening, rationality, a fresh new energy in the United States government, inshallah.
And one of the things I know Noreen is very interested in having her guests share is how you got to be who you are, starting with where you grew up and a little bit about some of the steps that you've taken and
sure
sort of brought you here.
Great. So I was born at a very young age.
That's my joke.
It's good. I'm going to take that. I was born and raised in the DC suburbs, kind of in the belly of the beast in a lot of ways, but it was very pleasant and there was a lot of parks, and my parents were very smart, conscious people that try to keep me away from watching too many cartoons and eating too much candy. And I was raised by a guy who was kind of free thinker, not too religious, and my mom was super Catholic, and so there's been a kind of a mix of the two different schools of thought in my life. And We had a multiracial family. We had some kids were adopted, and I was natural born and biological. And although it always seems so like weird to say I'm the biological child, but anyway, I come from a pretty unique family, and then so there's a lot of kind of just, instead of preaching anti-racism, we kind of lived it, this kind of multi-racial family. And then my life really kind of changed when I became politically conscious, became conscious of what Ronald Reagan was doing. I watched this film called The Day After on television. It depicted what nuclear war would look like. And I was just a kid. I was like 12 or 13, and I was just literally scalded. I was scalded with fear. There's no other way to describe it. I had no idea that the country was so full of thousands and thousands of these nuclear warheads. And they kept on telling us, oh, this film is only depicting a fraction of the damage that a nuclear war would do. And I was just like, I felt like something was extremely wrong with the world. You grow up thinking everyone's nice, good person, especially in the Catholic faith, like you're just like, and then you just kind of like, you come up to these social evils of genocide, of Nagasaki, Hiroshima, Dresden. Yeah. So that was a life-changing experience. And I think that is a great way to kind of tell people why I became a peace activist, why I became an anti-war activist all my life. I had part of my education was to become very left-wing and study Marxism and anarchism, but now I've kind of, also been an award-winning entrepreneur, and I've been able to do social ventures that have a social impact, but are also sound businesses or semi-sound businesses. I've done that a couple of times too. And so I'm kind of, again, a hybrid or an amalgam, different schools of thought. I've made peace with my Catholic upbringing. I go to Quaker meeting. I go to Zen meditation. I'm not angry at mom and dad in the Catholic Church anymore, at least not quite as much. Mom and dad are getting older. They're supporting this campaign, which is kind of great, and it wasn't like that before.
And the rest of the family is on board?
Yeah. My sister showed up at our campaign event in DC. That was nice. Yeah, that was really cool. It felt really good. Old high school friends, the DC 9/11 Truth Movement, the interfaith peace people showed up. So, yeah.
Tell us a little bit about the 9/11
I'd love
project.
to. I could talk for hours about that. But the 9/11 topic, let me do it as somebody who's trying to not piss you off. Okay. So let's say you're not into this topic, or it's not something you normally would savor or favor. You would walk away from this conversation at a cocktail party or a dinner party. Okay. I would like to say that fundamentally, I want you to know that I'm a peace activist, and I'm not doing this topic or bringing this topic up to make you feel dumber than I am, or that you don't know as much about the minutia or the details of, the science or whatever. It's more like, it's to me a question of psychology and a question of spirituality. And it's really a philosophical issue. Are we really willing as a society to really look at everything? Are we really willing to consider the ethical possibilities that are disturbing? Yes, but would we turn away from evil just because it's more convenient not to look at it? That's the real question here, because there's so much denial, there's so much taboo, there's so much spiritual damage or fear that comes up. And so I'm not here to bring up fear or anxiety. And believe me, I've been on this topic for about 16 years. It's very dear to me. Even before 9/11, I was this independent publisher who was trying to get the truth out about the Bush family and the Bush candidacy. This, young, underqualified governor from Texas. He was kind of like the joke candidate, very similar to what Donald Trump was. And nobody took him seriously. Nobody said he could possibly win the nomination. And then he did, just like Trump. And then people said, there's no way he could possibly win the presidency. And then he did, sort of just like Trump. Popular vote, no, but electoral vote, yeah. So the 9/11 topic for me goes to the core of who we are as Americans. Are we really willing to own the fact that we are the most violent country in the world? We live and breathe violence. Nobody has the school shootings that we have. And we're not really even willing to ask ourselves why those things happen, you know?
So where were you on 9/11?
Well, ironically enough, because of my experiences as a young independent publisher, getting the truth out about Bush, I was spending my first day off in a long time, my first day of a leave of absence from Soft Skull Press. I was running a company called Soft Skull Press. We had republished this book, Fortunate Son, and I decided for my own health and healing, I needed to take some time off because our author had just shown up dead in a motel room alone in Arkansas, either a suicide or a homicide. It wasn't really clear, very murky. Alcoholism was involved. We had been up and down in the corporate media, 60 Minutes, Washington Post style section, all kinds of corporate media, coast to coast radio and everything in between, radical bookstores to 60 Minutes, so from the top to the bottom, all kinds of media exposure. So I'm rambling, I'm a little bit tired, but anyway, so where was I? I was in Long Island, and my aunt came back from the farmer's market, and she said the World Trade Center towers are down. And I thought she meant like a computer is down, and I thought she doesn't mean down. She couldn't possibly mean down like, a curtain falling down, but that's exactly what happened. Those towers fell in a way that they were just suddenly down. And so I had all this time off, so I was able to take the time off and research and study it, study the Afghan-Soviet civil conflict, study Barry Zwicker in Canada, who was doing web video about the question, studied theologian Dr. David Ray Griffin, who's a Christian process theologian interested in the study of evil. How can God exist, and how could a perfect God exist and evil also exist? And then he also got into 9/11.
So we're going to take a break, and we'll be back in a few moments.
You're listening to the Talking Alternative Network.
You're listening to the Talking Alternative Network. Are you stuck in a rut? Negative thoughts, feelings, and conversations got you down? Hi, I'm Noreen, Sumter, Potentiator. Tune in every Tuesday at 9 to 10 p.m. Eastern Time and listen for new ideas on my show, Beyond Potential, Live Life Your Way, on talkradio.nyc.
Who do you want to connect with?
Are you an entrepreneur or intrapreneur looking to build your following?
Welcome to our show.
Follow Me Friday with Joan
and Priya.
Tune in every Friday at noon Eastern
on talkradio.nyc.
We're your digital connectors. Woo woo!
Talking Alternative Radio, 24 hours a day.
Hi, everyone. So this is Noreen Sumter from Beyond Potential, Live Life Your Way. And that was Ruth, my doppelganger, stepping in for me for the 12 minutes that I was behind. But, I call myself the time bender because it took me 30 minutes to get from JFK to 72nd Street. And that included taking the air train.
That's incredible.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. 40 minutes, right? So, yeah, that's pretty good. So, so we have Sanders in the studio tonight.
Sander,
more than not 2-1.
Yes,
and
yes.
And I've just got back from Barbados. I'm sunburned and dry and crusty and it's
Sandy, are you Sandy?
Yeah, I'm Sandy.
Okay,
I've
you're
got sand
Sandy.
in
I'm Sander.
places,
Yeah,
yes.
great. Nice to meet you.
And like I'm just here.
Good.
Right. So I'm just going to center myself and get myself going.
Let's do 30 minutes of silence. All right.
Yeah,
I think that's what the show needs right now.
Silence.
30 minutes of silence.
Okay, so I want to just jump right in. I want to jump right in.
You want to jump right in? We've been in it, Noreen. We've been doing it. We've been rocking and rolling.
So you tell us about the 9/11 story.
We're talking about a little bit about my background in the Bush book, yeah, and yeah.
And you should talk a little bit about how we met.
That'd be great. So we met because you recommended our mutual friend Satej come to Landmark.
Yeah, but it was even better.
But then I know. So then I sort of met you, and I sort of had you in this vague memory of people I've met recently. And then somebody at the campaign said you should go march with public advocate Latisha James in the West Indian Day Parade. And you were wearing these big sunglasses, but I still said, like, I think I know you. Right. I think I've met you before. And then we were like running through all these different things, and we said, "What about Landmark?" And I was like, "Yeah, Satej, yeah, right."
Satej, yeah. And so, I got invited to march in the West Indian Day Parade. I hadn't gone to that parade in, I don't know how many years.
And is it Satej or Satej?
Satej.
Satej.
Yeah, Satej.
Satish.
Yeah, and so that's when I met Sanders, and then we met again at the Martin.
I think it's Satej, and it's definitely Sander.
Well, he Satish is usually here.
Really?
Well, he usually
this is how he introduces himself.
Yeah.
This is Satej.
No, he actually goes out and he says, "I'm James Bond."
Okay, I'm James Bond.
In that Indian accent,
Bond.
it's kind of cool.
I'm James Bond. That's cute.
He is so
That's
cool.
Cute. Yes.
Yeah. So tell me, so you are for peace?
Yes.
And what was the other? Peace, empowerment, and you're not taking any money from people who are in oil, coal, and what's the other one?
That's right. You see that on Facebook recently?
Yeah.
I did that pledge not to take any big oil money, any big energy money. So that means no lobbyists, no big oil companies. That was really cool. I got a great campaign. They occasionally say, "Here, sign this, and we'll take a picture of you taking this pledge," and it leads to really good things. Like I interviewed this guy, Victor Tiffany, on my radio show on AmericanFreedomRadio.com, which happens Fridays 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern. But this guy was really great because we made our radio show all about how we can reach out to other people that care about the campaign and build the campaign. And this guy is awesome. He's writing a book called Bernie or Bust. And why am I telling you this story right now?
I asked you about not taking money.
Oh, yeah, dirty money. So he has another.
So you call it dirty money?
You can call it dirty money or dark money. Yeah, yeah.
Why is that?
Well, it's big money and it corrupts the American political establishment. The whole Democratic Party has got a major problem that no other party has with these superdelegates. You know what superdelegates are?
No. I've got to complain.
What is your background, by the way?
I have no idea about politics. Never been interested in politics. Just can't. It's just too much for my brain.
Politics is everywhere.
I know.
Everywhere.
But just like when you guys are fighting for seats and things like that, I can't get into it. Yeah. So it's called.
So this guy, the way I met this guy, Victor Tiffany, was he had a contract for American Renewal, part of the revolt against plutocracy, and so he has this awesome kind of like things, a pledge that you sign, and so that's how we met. And then interviewing him was great because then he helped us reach out to Bernie Sanders people. Bernie Sanders.
Yes, of course.
Yeah, of course.
I'm not, completely illiterate of
I know. I had to throw that patronizing question out there just to make sure we're on the same page. So yeah.
Did you bring me a button?
I did. It's right here.
We have a call on the line. Is it Kiwi? Oh, it's a come on down. Like, where's my mic? Where's my headset? Oh, do I need it? Okay, give me those over there.
Hi there.
Hello, how are you?
Good, Noreen. My name is Chris Kiwi from New Zealand.
Your name,
Chris Kiwi from New Zealand.
Hi, Chris. You know Chris Kiwi?
Yes, he's our Facebook, one of my biggest fans on Friends on Facebook. So hello, Chris.
Yep. Hello, Sander. I've followed Sander since Horns and Halos and his journey. How are you doing? Sander, I wanted to know, you're heading off to Iran. What is your mission to Iran, if I can ask?
Oh, sure. Thank you for asking. So, Noreen, I'm going to Iran in 2 days. Yeah. I am a part of a conference, to be quite honest, is going to be a little bit controversial. I don't know if it's too controversial for Facebook these days, because every time I mention Israel on Facebook, I get my my congressional website gets banned for like 2 or 3 weeks. Yeah. But I am here to try to help bring peace to the Middle East. And it's not like peace is a simple thing anymore. You know, you can't just say you're for peace and you're for lighting candles and singing Kumbaya. I don't think it was ever that simple, but that's how I grew up, thinking it was that simple. But now it's these days, I think we need a radical shifting of the global power structure and a radical shifting of U.S. foreign policy. And we can't just give Israel $10 million a day in military aid and not give the Palestinians any kind of help. You know, I would rather we were only giving humanitarian aid and nonviolent conflict resolution classes, and you know, and that the global economy was more imbalance. But so I'm going to participate in a conference that has been sparked by the fact that Trump has moved the capital of, or Trump's people have supported Israel moving its capital politically from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem, right? Which is traditionally the Muslim capital, traditionally the Palestinian capital. So we're in a conference. And to be quite honest, I think part of my mission is to be like a man who stands up for peace and integrity and nonviolence, and even says to the Iranians, we can't indulge in hate of Israel. We have to be, you know, hate is not the way forward.
No, it's not.
And I'm not going to be a super classic left winger who takes one side over the other, but I'm gonna be a person who says that U.S. foreign policy needs to deeply change, and I'd also like to declare the possibility of knowing what would it take for the Iranians to stop backing the Houthi rebels in Yemen? You know, at least to get them to articulate a path to peace in for their side in Yemen. But really, the Iranians in Yemen aren't the main problem. The main problem is that we are backing the U.S.-Saudi military collusion that is a demonic force in Yemen. That, you know, we bombed about 20 different weddings, civilian weddings. We have helped the Saudis bomb like 20 Muslim weddings in Yemen. You know, this country is half starving.
So let me ask you a question. So who are these weddings that they're bombing? Just regular folk?
Regular Yemeni people. Yeah, it's come out recently that that we are just helping the Saudi Arabians completely decimate this country. It's genocidal. It's an international war crime. It's the biggest humanitarian crisis in the world.
And how comes we don't, as you know, as a populace, how comes we don't know about that?
Well, you know about it if you watch Russia Today or Press TV or maybe a little bit of Democracy Now! Here and there. But
and what kinds of are these, like private internet channels, or what are these channels?
No, Press TV and RT are like cable news channels. They're owned by foreign governments like Russia and Iran. So that's not perfect objectivity, of course, but it helps. The U.S. objective corporate media is not so objective, and it really is a very codified point of view. You know, I've seen that for the last 17 years with the way they will only give one perspective on 9/11, and nothing else is really tolerated, right? And the same goes pretty much with U.S. Israel foreign policy. You know, in this campaign, I've been critical of Israel. I've been critical of the human rights violations that Israel is guilty of. You know, like Gaza. Like just recently, they've killed like 40 people in Gaza. But if you say that kind of thing, you're instantly branded as anti-Israel. You know?
And would some people describe you as a conspiracy theorist?
Yeah, that's true. But then if you really bring that up, I'll say, hey, the CIA made that a bad word. I didn't make that a bad word. Conspiracy is a crime, right? It's an English common law, right? If a couple people conspire to knock off a liquor store, like if we conspired, if we talked about doing that, then we would be guilty of conspiracy. So not all conspiracies are theories, right? Jesus was killed by a conspiracy, and John F. Kennedy and Martin Luther King were killed by a conspiracy. But the CIA realized that they were losing integrity and losing credibility super fast with the Warren Commission report. And they published a memo in 1967 that said, we're going to create a black cloud of pejorative negativity around the term conspiracy theory. They didn't say that phrase. That's a great phrase. They should have said that phrase. But so when anybody says that to me, like, are you a conspiracy theorist? It's like, hey, what if I am? What if I do have a theory of justice that says that men, usually it's men, usually it's white men, collude to do social evil. You know, the powerful, absolute power corrupts absolutely. You know,
So-
that's not a theory, that's a fact.
I just want to just like make a statement here. Do you realize that you've literally like signed your own, the conversation that you seem to be having? And like I said, I am not politically fully savvy, right?
Right.
But I'm just basically going off the conversation that is going on here, the things that you're fighting for, the arguments that you're having, or the concerns that you're having. You seem to me to have already just signed your own death warrant.
How so? You mean physically?
Yeah, because like you're going against like big powers, political, you have different political opinions, you're going against Israel and all this stuff. And I'm just going by, you know, what I hear, you know, and what's happened in the past.
Right.
Could it be your fight that, you know, you might have to die for it?
Yeah, there's a possibility that happens to people. That I think it's more important to stand up for peace and justice, like to follow the model of Gandhi and King and Jesus. It seems like that's the big stakes, and that's okay. You know, it's something like St. Paul says, it's better to give up your life for your friends. You know, that's the best. That's the best thing, right?
Yeah, I heard that this week as well. It's better. Actually, this week, what am I talking about? That was yesterday.
Yesterday. No
That
greater
was-
love can a man have than to give up his life for his friends.
Yeah, that was. I heard that on Sunday actually.
on a beach somewhere.
No, I actually heard it in a church.
Oh, great.
Dr. Was it Solomon? I can't remember, it's like Numdi or something like that. But it was a Methodist church that I went to in Barbados. And he actually said that. He was saying we have to be willing to give up our life for our friends.
Yeah.
So it's quite strange.
Ideally, though, I do have a 13-year-old son with a mohawk, and I'd like to teach him about the intricacies of punk rock and rebellion before I go. So ideally, I'd like to figure out a way, maybe through coaching, that you know, that this is my coach Zoe at Landmark has taught me about enrollment, about how to lead off by saying, hey, I'm a peace activist, and I think everybody's a peace activist. So I would rather not be branded a conspiracy theorist, because that obviously in our culture, it's normally accepted by normal mainstream opinion that conspiracy theorist means wrong or wacko. And
well, you have to be a little bit wacko to actually get anything that means something done. I mean, you can't be in, you know, as we say, the norm. Anyway, we're going to take a break and then we'll come right back.
Okay, great.
You're listening to the Talking Alternative Network.
Are you into comics, movies, and pop culture at large? What about music and TV? Then you're in for a treat. This is Michael Dolce, your host on TalkingAlternative.com. I've been professionally writing comic books, screenplays, and music articles for almost 15 years. Catch my show, Secrets of the Sire, at its new primetime slot, Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, and get the inside scoop on the pop culture universe you love to talk about. For more info, go to secretsofthesire.com.
Hi, I am Dr. Tranquility of Dr. Tranquility PR, successfully meeting the media needs of the wellness community. As an expert myself for major mainstream media, radio, TV, and print magazines, I now help you book interviews for broadcast radio, podcast, television, and IPTV, as well as many, many magazines. Reach me, 212-920-1603.
Talking Alternative Radio, 24 hours a day.
That line of
Hi, and we're back. This is Noreen Sumter with Sander on Beyond Potential. Sander Hicks, who's running for Congress.
That's right,
Can
Noreen.
you share with them what seat you're running for? Because I'm not really clear.
Okay, well, here we have this Democratic representative of the people, a collection of Democratic representatives in our country, and it's called the United States Congress. And it's really kind of like the House of Commons in the UK in a lot of ways. And I am running for the seat in the 12th district, which is mostly east side of Manhattan, lower east side, all the way down to Houston, Delancey, in some parts, western Queens, northern Brooklyn. I'm currently running in the Democratic primary, running for the primary nomination, taking on a very kind of ossified old guard Democrat who's very big money, very pro-Israel, voted for the Iraq War, was originally against the Iran nuclear deal, just like Trump now, who just killed the Iran nuclear deal. She changed her position later, but she's kind of politically lost. Very pro-Wall Street.
So what is it? Yeah. I mean, like, what was it that had you, I'm not unless you asked this question already, what was it that had you like get up one morning and say, I'm going to do this? Or was it like that?
Honestly, it was actually a 9/11 thing. I don't usually share this because I usually interview people that are much more like,
politically savvy.
Thank you. You read my mind.
Hey.
But a nice way of putting that would be like, most people are just kind of like trying to like think like, how can we help him, be more normal, but in this, I feel like just like being like,
no, be yourself. I welcome
Okay.
you to be yourself on this show.
you.
It's all about people being themselves, actually.
Boom.
Because if you're not being yourself, who are you being? Right.
Thank you. So honestly, I knew this thing was going to happen, and I thought like I should elevate my political activities.
So you knew 9/11 was going to happen?
No.
Oh.
What it was I knew a anti 9/11, a pro 9/11 truth action was going to happen, and not just a civil disobedience action or a protest or a conference, but this amazing thing recently happened. My friends, or a group I'm friendly with called the Lawyers Committee for 9/11 Inquiry, filed a grand jury petition in U.S. federal district court. And we've been waiting for this for a couple of years. They really did the background work. They filed this 52-page petition. Basically, it's a criminal complaint saying, here is the evidence. Like I was talking to Sam earlier, and Sam knew right away. He just said, oh, well, Building 7 is one of the more suspect facts of that day that the building fell. And so that's in the petition. They have 57 different categories of evidence, and it was done well. It was done with precision and professionalism. And as you might know, this might be a shock to some of you, but in the conspiracy theory world, not everything is done with precision and care. And there's a lot of different theories, and not everybody is right. So, or not everything is subject to scrutiny or subject to peer-reviewed science. But we in the 9/11 Truth Movement, fueled by the grace of God and the internet, maybe not in that order, but fueled by new technologies of video sharing and DVD replication. It's spread like wildfire. It's kind of amazing that it's spread as quickly as it has. I know. I'm trying to get comfortable in this chair. Ugh. I need a massage and a crystal bath.
Okay, stay with me. Okay. So what was it that had you,
So the fact is I knew that these lawyers were going to file this petition this year sometime. And so I wanted to be in a position to help them as much as possible. And I don't know if running for Congress is exactly that, but it's a way to heighten my political activity and help the world realize that something very, very wrong and neglected has happened. Because we gave some of the most corrupt, evil people on earth a free pass by not subjecting the 9/11 events, plural, to deep kind of scrutiny, a deep kind of scientific and legal scrutiny. We really left these two people off the hook. And I was talking to Ruth earlier about maybe this has to do with a philosophical problem or almost like a psychological laziness of turning away from the possibilities of an evil so deep that you just can't look at it. I like to talk about it as kind of like maybe it's like a family. Maybe our society is like a family that's experienced sexual abuse, and mom and dad are still in the house, right? There hasn't been an intervention. We're not willing to look there. We're all kind of like the kids or the neighbors that are not willing to fully face it.
Mhm.
So that's really what 9/11 is, because most people have this gut reaction. It's not a rational brain decision based on evidence or consideration of facts. It's
Mhm.
more of I just don't want to go there, and I wouldn't believe it if it was true. We've actually heard that. That's kind of like, I don't know what you call that, but it's almost like an aversion to the moral imperative that you do something about evil. So people sometimes want to turn away from evil, but the actual evidence is really strong if you look at it.
So what got you to get up and say, I'm going to do this? I got all the backstory, but what was it? What was that pivotal moment that had you say, I'm going to run?
Well, it was July 4th of last year. I'd been kind of testing the waters a little bit, or looking at Carolyn Maloney, the incumbent, who was a close friend of Hillary Clinton's, and she basically ignored me. She ignored the letters of my group. We asked her to look into the 28 pages issue, which is again a 9/11 related issue, asking this congressional rep to help advocate the release of these 28 pages.
Were you natting her, sending it to her over and over and over again?
No. I was doing the professional thing of calling and asking, who do we follow up with? And we were getting treated badly by different aides of this.
When you say badly, oopsie, is that me?
It's okay.
When you say badly, what do you mean by that?
Just getting passed around and ignored, and being told to talk to this person, and that person won't call you back. And we call back and they say, oh no, talk to this person, and that person won't call you back. And I was just like, wow, this woman has a terrible staff, terrible sense of responsibility to her constituents, doesn't really realize who she's working for. And it turns out she really is an arrogant, insouciant, older lady who has been in power for too long and has done way too little. Yeah.
So do you think that people start out that way? Like,
no, I don't. I think she was very idealistic and probably wanted to change things. And she had a tragedy where her husband was a VP at Goldman Sachs and was also a mountaineering guy. And he went to Tibet and climbed a mountain and had a heart attack.
Okay.
And I think she's suffering because of that. I've heard.
Okay. So she's idealistic, and she had these dreams and desires that she wanted to make a difference. And then suddenly she's been there too long,
Well, you know what?
out.
She's idealistic about one issue and one issue only. It's women's rights. So and that's something I support too. And she really wanted to have ERA pass.
And ERA is?
The Equal Rights Amendment.
Okay.
See
how ignorant I am? Go ahead.
It's okay.
Well, I'm not good with acronyms.
You're learning a lot here.
Go ahead.
Yeah. And that was big in like the 70s. When was the last time you heard about ERA? And right, I remember Doonesbury used to have it a lot. The people, right, and do the Doonesbury cartoons, but that was back in
a long time.
A long time ago. Yeah. So
so my question for you really is like, so you have all these ideals, these goals and things that you want to accomplish. What is going to stop you from becoming, that? Yeah,
another Carolyn Maloney. That's a good question. I think there's some fundamental differences. A, I have a spiritual life, and B, I'm not distracted by the same things that she's distracted by. So I've got a good relationship with my meditation practice and my Quaker community, and my relationship with prayer and with God, and my spiritual guides, who are mostly either my ancestors or my or writers that I've worked with who have passed on. So there's that, and I also, I'm happy to say that I'm living a clean lifestyle, and I don't have toxins in my life the way I used to, and this is like a deliberate choice. I wouldn't be running for office right now if I didn't have this clean lifestyle, sober lifestyle, a spiritual lifestyle.
Right. So you've got all these things that you've taken on: a spiritual lifestyle, prayer, meditation, all that kind of stuff. You have a clean lifestyle. You said you never used to.
Some personal development work too.
So, you've done like personal development and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But the mainstream, like those people out there who are against you, they might take your past and use it as a weapon to
Well,
trigger you.
What in the past?
Well, I know about the past, but I'm saying they don't know about the past, but they might use it to trigger you. What methods of protection, or what have you created so you don't get into that, caught up in that? So it doesn't make you cry.
Well, what are the triggers?
Well, they're going to talk about your past. You said you got a clean lifestyle, so I'm assuming there was a dirty lifestyle. Well, just clean, dirty, right?
Yeah.
So there might be some alcohol, there might be some drugs there might be some stuff. Right. So you're not like squeaky clean. So you're not squeaky clean, right? Or basically your stuff is out in the open, right? Whereas maybe others who are running is not so out in the oven. He's got like a deep closet inside of a closet.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
How are you going to manage that?
Well, honesty, it's kind of like, if somebody brought something like that up, I would say, yeah. And I'm really happy that I've cleaned up my life and that things are going really well because I've cleaned up my life,
right.
I don't, it's not like I'm like Attorney General Eric Schneiderman, who just resigned because he was choking his girlfriends, and they say that was non-consensual, and it's just another ugly skeleton in the closet coming out. And in politics, there's this thing called pivoting. If somebody says, "Oh, did you have a past?" You could say, "Yeah," and like, look at me today. I'm here to say that people can overcome their pasts, and I've been through some things, taking on the Bush family in my late 20s, with this book, and then learning about having the opportunity to really study politics, having time off between running companies and having time to study history and politics, and and sometimes studying the secrets that we don't always have time to study. So it put me into the frame of mind of looking critically at power and international
power. So basically, what I'm hearing is that you can own your voice, speak your truth, and you technically are living life your way, which is my motto, right?
Yes, right.
So you're like pretty much like an open book. There's whatever's there.
Oh, I've always been an open book. You should see the stuff I was writing in college. I would go on a cross-country hitchhiking trip and then write every single gory detail of the escapade on this a loosely veiled fiction novel, and stuff. So yeah, I was really into like exposing and not living in secrecy.
Right.
Maybe it was 12 years of Catholic school in which like you're at this all guys Catholic school and like you're like, wow, 65% of the faculty is like ordained and totally gay, and you can totally see it. They're all closeted. It's like you want to get out of that freaking closeted, secretive, and all the jocks and all this homoerotic energy of all these athletes, and they're all calling you fag. You're a fag because why? Because you're trying to play chess in the cafeteria, and it's like that movie Idiocracy. Have you seen this movie? Mike Judge. It's really funny.
So we have Dave online too.
Okay, great. Dave, we're going to go to a break in I think a minute, right?
We're going to go to a break.
Okay,
and
that
then,
sounds good.
Yeah, and then we'll be right back.
You're listening to the Talking Alternative Network.
Are you a conscious co-creator? Are you on a quest to raise your vibration and your consciousness? I'm Sam Leibowitz, your conscious consultant, and on my show, The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, we will touch upon all these topics and more. Listen live at our new time on Thursdays at 12 noon Eastern Time. That's The Conscious Consultant Hour, Awakening Humanity, Thursdays 12 noon on talkradio.nyc.
Are you feeling unhappy with your body, shape, or size? Ever feel out of control with food? I'm Elizabeth from Nourish the Soul, and on this show, you will uncover the root to these imbalances and discover a permanent solution to having a healthy relationship to food and your body. Join us every Thursday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern Time on talkradio.nyc.
TalkingAlternative.com.
All right. Hi, Dave. Welcome back. This is Noreen
Hello.
Sumter from Beyond Potential, and we have Dave on the line.
Yes. I had a chance to meet the. Hello.
Hello.
Turn down your computer, please.
My computer's turned down.
Great. Awesome.
I'm just in my phone right now.
Oh, good.
This is Dave Strider. I'm a candidate for U.S. Senate out here in the state of Washington, and I've had the unique opportunity to meet the candidate, Hicks, on his nationwide unity tour. That's what I kind of called it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he was everywhere. And out here in Washington, he was well received. I'm impressed with his drive, his facts, his motivation, and what I saw here in Washington State and in Oregon, where I also saw him, was his listening to the people. Now, I think that's going to serve Sander very well in his position as the congressional representative from District 12 there in New York City. Having lived in New York City and Brooklyn on Eastern Parkway, and then later in Hoboken, I got a chance to know the type of people that are there, and I love the city, and I'm impressed with Sander, and I wish him the best, and continued safe trip to Iran. I'll be looking forward to reports coming out.
Thank you, Dave.
So much. Thank you for calling in.
Noreen and I have marched on Eastern Parkway in Brooklyn. So with the West Indian Day Parade, and this is a very progressive candidate for mayor who is now the public advocate here, kind of like the second in command in city government, Latisha James. So that was a cool day. And Labor Day last fall. Yeah, that was great. Thanks, Dave, for the support.
The only East Indian festival that I saw was the last live performance for Bob Marley.
Oh, that was West
kidding.
Indian, not East Indian, Dave. You got to get your Indians right.
Indians, the fucking
My Indians.
That's right. West Indian.
Well, I mean, Eastern Parkway. I mean, Bob Marley, he was there, wasn't he? In 1980?
You tell me.
Remember?
Yes, I watched him from the rooftop. In fact, my girlfriend from Massachusetts said, "Oh, Bob Marley," and he was up on a wagon, and and people were dancing and everything. Beautiful time.
Somebody Google that. Somebody Google that. Matt Mills,
But
Google
anyway,
that for me.
I'm going to let you go, Sander.
Great.
You've got a lot to speak about.
Thanks for calling in.
Listening to some more news from the Sander Hicks.
Yes, Dave Strider, the independent Senate candidate from Washington State. Thank you, Dave. It was great. Thank you so much for hosting us in Washington State. And
thank you for listening to the show.
Yeah, Dave, we'll hear more from you. Hopefully you'll tune in to American Freedom Radio and be a guest or a caller on American Freedom Radio, my radio show, 3 to 5 p.m.
It's enough of that. Come on, let's get on it. Okay.
You should be a guest. You could be my sidekick, Noreen.
So I wanted to ask you, I wrote on there your big why. Why politics? What does it take for you to get up in the morning and do this thankless sometimes
it's
job?
Oftentimes thankless. What motivates me is the possibility of being a breath of fresh air, being a breeze of peace and reasonableness and goodness and truth and beauty in a world that seems to have forgotten what those things are. We have a president who has kind of king baby syndrome. He has like a psychological disorder. He's
I want to talk about Suraj Patel.
Yeah, well, we haven't.
What do you call him, the babyface millionaire?
He is the babyface millionaire, and he's surrounding himself with these petulant yuppie types who surrounded us and in Brooklyn Supreme Court today, and they're ganging up on us and they're trying to kick us off the ballot. one of these guys came up to me today and he said, we wouldn't be doing this whole, ballot petition challenge if you guys hadn't criticized us and accused us of financial impropriety. And I was like, well, you guys filed with the Federal Election Commission. All of these poor people were giving $10,000 each to your campaign. It's not possible. You're only supposed to be limited to $2,700 each election per person.
How does poor people give $10,000?
Exactly. How do unemployed students have $10,000 to give? And that's above the limit anyway. And so it looks like it's called bundling. When you have a big chunk of change and you want to get it into your campaign, you bundle it, into little bundles for people to push through. And
so
the guy was dumbfounded. The guy didn't even have. I knew my facts right away. I knew exactly what I was talking about. This guy, he was just full of whiny objections and accusations. But I could back it up.
Am I going to walk down the street and little baby yuppies are going to hit me in my knees?
No, I don't think so. I call him the babyface millionaire because he has raised $1 million for his campaign, but that's really what he's known for. He's known for being like this candidate that has a lot of money. But you know what? It's kind of like that Billy Joel song, "You've got no scars on your face."
Right.
Here you are. It doesn't seem like he's really done an honest day's work in his life, or has ever had.
Where does he come from?
He comes from Indiana. In fact, his primary residence was in Indiana. And we were in front of this really nasty judge that seemed to really hate me for some reason. And he was beating up my lawyer, Mustafa Indusa, who I love. It was a crazy situation. It was a real nightmare situation. I couldn't believe how bad it was going for us this morning. And they were questioning my residency, and they were saying, oh, you've moved around Brooklyn a lot, and we don't believe you live where you live. And we're accusing you of fraud. This is the Suraj Patel's lawyers and his phalanx of dirty-haired yuppies. And
yuppies with dirty hair?
It was just weird. It was weird. He had hippies and yuppies coming after us. He was pulling out all the stops. Anyway, so they were challenging my residency, but you know what? Suraj Patel was in the media recently. This is the other Democratic challenger, by the way, for following along.
Do you think he's listening?
He probably is listening.
He's probably got.
He seems to know everything I post about him. They complain if I complain about them. His policy on Syria sucks. He thinks Assad is guilty of all these chemical weapons.
Why don't you just tell us what you really think?
Yeah, his policy on Syria sucks, and it's going to create more war. He's worse than Trump in a lot of ways. These Democrats, they think they're progressives. They think they're anti-war. But then Suraj Patel, in our last debate, in front of a ton of Bernie Sanders people, said, oh, yeah, I believe that the CNN and Trump are right and that Assad is using chemical weapons to gas children. And there hasn't been a real investigation of that. We don't really know that for a fact, right? And if Trump wants to bomb people on April 12th around that, then he's got to consult Congress, and he didn't, and it's wrong. So Suraj Patel is really wrong about Syria. And I won that debate. I won that debate in a vote that amounted to like a total of I won 2 votes to his 1 vote. That's how badly we beat him in front of a Bernie Sanders style Democratic crowd. And so I heard he got upset about that, So
I did research, after we had that conversation, and I invited you to come on the show, and I wanted you both to have a mashup.
Yeah, you wanted us to have a debate.
Yeah, I really wanted you guys to have a debate, right? And so I researched and found his people. They did call me back.
Good.
And said they would call me back.
Yeah.
To have a conversation. They asked me about the show and everything, and I said, go in and Google it. And no one ever called me back.
Yeah. Well, guess what?
What?
He's got 25 paid staff people and 75 volunteers. And if he doesn't call you back, he's blowing you off.
Well,
he's scared. He's scared, Noreen. Doesn't want to come. He doesn't want to come. No, the last time we debated, I beat the pants off that little babyface millionaire 2-1. Of course, it was pretty easy.
Is that like Boss Baby?
Yeah, it was pretty easy because he had voted for Hillary, and I was the only candidate in the race that had voted for Bernie Sanders, right? And this was a progressive group, a real progressive group. He was lousy on Syria. I said we need a new investigation before we accuse Assad of chemical weapons attacks. It doesn't make any sense. A number of other things. I'm the one that's calling for a new investigation of 9/11, slowing down military aggression, pulling back, pulling out of Afghanistan, out of Iraq. Interfaith awareness. This is the kind of substantial differences between us. This guy seems really light. After our debate, he gave me a hug and he said, let's go out for a beer sometime together. That's completely inappropriate. First of all, I haven't gone out for beers in 6 years, and it's kind of like, that's like really a little bit too chummy.
Right.
The voters don't want to know that the two challengers against a pro-corporate Democrat are going out for beers together. That would be collusion.
Right.
The voters want some independence between the Democratic challengers. Completely
So basically,
inappropriate.
you're not going to have beers with
Heck no. I don't have beers with
anyone,
with people like that.
Oh, you don't have beers at all?
Non-alcoholic beers on occasion.
Oh, duels.
Twist my arm.
All right. So we are coming to the end of the show. And I would like to know if there's anything that you would like to publicize.
Oh, well,
share.
hicksforcongress.com is a great website with lots of fun video. And there is an interactive petition that you can sign on hicksforcongress.com to send your greetings to Iran. I'm going to be printing out this petition. We are, of course, are hard up for money. We do need funds, so please do donate $20 or $200.
You're a man face, so you're not a millionaire.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a man-faced working class hero, and hicksforcongress.com will take your donation to help support the Bernie Sanders of New York City, and that's who we are.
So I just want to say thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you, my sister.
I wish you the best.
Thank you.
And like guided protection over you.
Thank you.
Nice bubble to protect, pink one, nice pink bubble to protect you.
Good.
And that all who meets you falls in love with you. And when you go off to Iran, that they're going to just think you're the most wonderful person and they listen to what you have to say. And as Dave just said, you're a good listener, and it's in the listening that we create life. So I wish you the best.
Thank you, Noreen.
You're welcome.
Peace and love.
So that's me, Noreen Sumter, signing off from Beyond Potential, Live Life Your Way. Still ashy, still all sandy, coming in from Barbados. I'll see you next week after I've taken a shower. Bye!
You're listening to the Talking Alternative Network.
Ding-a-ding-ding-ding.